So you're on the fourth topic, waker, dreamer, deep sleeper, and you. And last week we read first two paragraphs. So any questions before we recap?
Amaji, in this,
Yes.
in paragraph number 2 of that Waker Dreamer, Deep Sleeper, and You,
Uh-huh.
when reading through Swamiji's book, it says that your life revolves around these three states of consciousness when you assume the personalities of the Waker Dreamer and Deep Sleeper. All the three Waker Dreamer and Deep Sleeper do not know you. So that do not know you, can you just please explain that do not know you part, please?
See, you meaning the self, your real personality. So that's the thought flow right from the beginning in this class. I mean, in this paragraph. So if you go to the starting of the paragraph, first paragraph, the self conditioned by desires has adopted three distinct personalities as waker, dreamer, and deep sleeper. The three of them are unaware of their conditioning. They believe all is well with them, etc. Who does not, then he continues, it is like one being under the influence of alcohol who does not realize he has lost his own personality and assumed a false one. So that's the line of thought. You means the self,
Self.
divinity, the core of your personality. So any other doubts?
Mm.
All clear?
So in that each stage when you definitely don't know you. That's what it means, right? All the three, whenever you are, if I'm the waker, I'm the dreamer, deep sleeper, I don't know that I'm the self. That's the whole crux of the whole thing, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Thanks.
See, it is extremely important, not important, extremely important for all of us to understand that we are caught up in these three states of consciousness right from the day we are born. And all scriptures, they are telling us that these are not our original states. These are conditioned states. So what creates this conditioning is ignorance of who you are, ignorance of reality, your original nature. And once you are ignorant of this truth, of this fact, then it creates desires. This is the very beginning of desires. And once desires are created, whole life, entire life, you're caught up in these desires. And these desires, they bring about the conditioning, which is by these three states. So three states are nothing but conditioning created by your vasanas, conditioning created by your desires. And no conditioned person knows he is conditioned. That's the whole message. See, if we knew we are conditioned, I mean, life will be so simple. It is impossible to understand that we are conditioned. And the example which he gives in the book is no drunk person knows he or she is conditioned. See, even the teenager, this could be another example. They're so conditioned by their teenage passions, age group 12 to whatever, 14, 15, 16. There is no way parents can talk to them. Most lot of parents face this problem, or good many parents face this problem. So they are in their own world. We all have gone through that. So they are totally conditioned by teenage desires, isn't it? So parents cannot talk about importance of education, career, and all that. So exactly same thing is happening to all of us. That we are conditioned by these three states and we do not know we are conditioned. See, even as we are discussing it, I mean, what do we really understand? Yes, as a concept, fine. But can we claim that it really hits us? Oh yes, I am conditioned. I understood. I am conditioned. If you understand that you're conditioned, what will happen?
You will realize the self.
Mhm. If you get that message that yes, I'm a conditioned person, what will happen?
I think two things will happen. Amit. The first thing is you will try to see how you can free yourself and liberate yourself because nobody wants to be in a cage. And second thing is anything that happens to you in the conditional state you realize is fake or it's not really going to impact your original selves. Like two things.
Perfect. See, the moment you understand you are conditioned, you will start putting efforts. The problem with all of us or most of us is we don't get it that we are conditioned. You get the difficulty. Even though we may say we get it, we really don't get it. So therefore, that complacency remains. And another point is, I'm just recapping, is that you swear by each state when you are in it. See, right now, can you not swear by the state you are in? Can you deny that you are in Washington, D.C.? The whole family has gone there. It's life, it's a fact that you drove from Michigan to Washington, D.C. And exactly same thing happens in the dream. That dreamer goes through a particular experience, the dream experience, and he or she swears by it. Deep sleeper has got no clue of what is happening. So that's the whole problem. So you assume an identity in each state, but actually that's not your true identity. This is a passing phenomena. So while it lasts, it is absolutely real. But then none of these states they stand the test of reality. Why? I'm just recapping and questioning. All was explained last week. Why don't these states they stand the test of reality?
Because they are not permanent.
Mm-hmm.
They are
because they change.
Mm-hmm.
time, space, and causation.
Now you've gone off. Answer should be give one answer and just stick to it. I'm not talking to you. Generally, I'm giving you the principle. See, this is not a forum where you can start thinking. What about this? What about that? What about that? You know, that we are supposed to do in our study and reflection. So when we give answers, just whatever answer comes to you, just to tickle thinking. It's not a question of right or wrong or how much we know or we don't know. So, but incidentally, all the answers are correct. And then Waker alone can conceive the possibility of the state of self-realization. That is important. Deep sleeper cannot do that. Dreamer cannot do that. See, in fact, deep sleeper knows only deep sleep state. This is the whole thing is blacked out, isn't it? But the dreamer knows dream state and deep sleep state, isn't it? But the dreamer doesn't know what is waking state. But the waker knows waking state. Waker knows what is dream state. Waker knows what is
Deep sleep state.
deep sleep state. But waker doesn't know what is the state of self-realization. It is called as Turiya, the fourth plane of consciousness. But only in the waking state we can put efforts. First of all, to conceive the possibility that we are conditioned. We can do that, at least in theory, we can do that. But as you stay put with the subject, see, it becomes more and more clear to you. But the problem is what? Why can't most people conceive such a possibility? That what's my real nature? What's my purpose of life? It's not that we don't have capacity. Every human being has that capacity to question. But rare is a person who uses that possibility. Why?
Because of desires.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're conditioned to look at the result of something instead of
Mm-hmm.
looking within and kind of getting to the root cause of what then
Mhm.
produces those effects.
Mm-hmm.
We
Yeah.
don't want to put in the work.
Sorry, say that again.
We don't want to put in the work.
Yeah, correct. But why? Why is the question? You're absolutely right. But why? What prevents us from doing that?
I think two things. I mean, one is we assume that this is the normal way of living, or this is
Right.
normal state of being. And the second thing is we don't have faith in if there is anything higher than what we are currently having.
You're not wrong, but the main thing is desires. See, there are so many desires, worldly desires, terrestrial desires, that your subtle intellect is completely dormant. That's what he tells us in the paragraph, second paragraph towards the end. It is a subtle intellect which has the capacity to question. But subtle intellect is buried under desires. So therefore, as you start offloading desires, to that extent, your spiritual journey becomes pronounced. See, today I had lunch with one family. I know that family for last, I don't know, at least 24, 25 years. I think Radha might know, Veera might know, Presita, you know, right? So parents, she is one of our students. So today I realized that she has been with us for 17 years. So she joined when she was, I think, 18. And we were discussing. So they took me out for meal, few ashram students joined in, and we had a great time. And incidentally, it was their 39th wedding anniversary and happily married. That's what I asked them. I told them rather, you look so happy. But I have seen the journey of that couple, that family. So when first time they got exposed to this knowledge, yes, they had some basic inquiry. There is no doubt about that. Therefore, they came to this knowledge. But like any other person, any other couple, full of desires, relatively less compared to others. From that 25 years today, they are completely dedicated to the pursuit of this knowledge. Are you with me? I'm trying to give you practical examples, and it's happening to all of us. I met them, therefore I gave that example. So as you offload your desires, it becomes more clear to you. That's the whole point. So therefore he says, you need to be spiritually advanced. However, a human, last line I'm reading in the second paragraph, however, a human needs to be spiritually evolved to raise the question as to who he is. So it's a subtle intellect which does that. And then he talks about that parable. It's a very famous parable from the scriptures about King Janaka, that how he questioned the whole thing. So this is what we covered last week. So are we okay with the thought flow, main concepts? Anything not clear? All clear? Excellent. So let's continue. Tejo?
King Janaka was an evolved person. One night, as he lay in bed, he dreamt a horrible dream. He dreamt he was a beggar in the streets suffering from penury and starvation. He shot out of his bed. Even as he woke up to be the king in the luxury of the palace, he could not shake away that vivid experience of the beggar. He wondered how he could have been a beggar a while ago and now the king. Janaka summoned his ministers and posed the famous question ever asked by a human being. Am I the king who imagined that I was a beggar, or am I the beggar now imagining myself to be the king? Who am I? The ministers were totally perplexed and could not answer the king. They lacked the spiritual acumen even to appreciate the magnitude of the question. Time passed, but the king would not be appeased. The indefatigable question persisted in his mind until a spiritually awakened sage, Ashtavakra, was brought in to answer the king. To that enlightened master, the king posed the same question as though the dream had just passed. Am I the king who imagined myself to be a beggar, or am I the beggar now imagining to be a king? The sage replied with his resounding words of wisdom, you are neither. You are not the king. You are not the beggar. You are the self. Now the self is imagining to be the king. A while ago, the self imagined to be the beggar. The self, having lost its real state, assumes the position of the waker in the waking state, the dreamer in the dream state, and the deep sleeper in the deep sleep state. The waker, dreamer, and deep sleeper are conditioned bodies. Your unconditioned real state is the Supreme Self, not king, not beggar, not nothing. King Janaka reverentially received the message and found the self. So must you recognize your mission as a human being, to release yourself from the prison houses of the waking, dream, and deep sleep. Realize you are not the waker, dreamer, or deep sleeper. You are the immaculate self. Recognize your essential being. Attain self-realization, spiritual enlightenment. You are heir to it.
So most Indians, they would know this example, but even if you don't know, it doesn't matter. See, he is talking about a person who has a very powerful subtle intellect. That's the gist. So you may have that powerful subtle intellect at the age of 16, 15, or you may not have even the basic subtle intellect at the age of 80 or 85 also. It's nothing to do with the age. It's to do with to what extent this message has hit you. That's the reason Buddha, he walked out of his kingdom. In today's language, he was a multi-billionaire. And it hit him that, what's my purpose in life? We often talk about Ramana Maharshi. At the age of 12 or 13, he left his parents' place. The famous sage from Tamil Nadu. In fact, he's more popular in the Western countries than in India. Of course, he is popular in India, but if you go there, you'll find at least 60-70% people are Westerners or foreigners, At the age of 10, 11, 12, he left his house to find out. You don't have to leave the house. You stay put where you are. So very powerful, subtle intellect. So what's that query which Janka had? What really hit him? Can anybody tell? From that story, what really got him thinking? See, what was the question he asked his ministers?
Who am I?
Mm-hmm.
Was he a king pretending to be a beggar or a beggar pretending to be a king?
Mm-hmm.
I think what he realized is that he is both, and somehow is this really real or is this an illusion? So I think he
Mm-hmm.
realized that he's imagining both sides, and he just suddenly became confused. Who is he?
Mm-hmm. So all are correct answers. See, the interesting part is we don't have access to our dream world. I mean, when you get up from the dream, it fizzles out. How much of that dream you really remember? It's gone. But if you could capture that experience somehow, it is as real as this experience right now as a waker. But why we dismiss it? Because we cannot capture the dream experience. But if you could capture that dream experience, see, that's what happened to him. He got up when the dream was fresh and he felt, oh my God, I was begging just now. And where am I? How come I'm in the palace? So only if you could capture your dream experiences, see that vividity, that freshness, all of us would start thinking, is this state real? The waking state is real? That is how his spiritual journey started. So it's interesting example. But don't try to relive your dream experiences and all that, please. Nothing will, you're wasting your time. I have to caution you, especially if it is a nightmare. Better forget the nightmare. But as far as you and I are concerned, that's what he tells us in the last paragraph. So must you recognize your mission as a human being, to release yourself from the prison houses of the waking, dream, and deep sleep. Realize you're not the waker, dreamer, or deep sleeper. You are that immaculate self. Recognize your essential being, attain self-realization, spiritual enlightenment. You are heir to it. So for this, you need this knowledge. You get the connection. So the more you stay with this knowledge, more that spirit of inquiry will come. And that too, systematic study. Haphazard study is not going to get you anywhere. I mean, I don't want to repeat it over and over again, but it is my obligation to remind you that if you do not follow systematic and methodic study of Vedanta, you are completely wasting your time. Now you decide which module to follow, what format to follow, whom to follow. That's your call. Right? Having identified a format of study, better stick to it. If you tamper with it, nothing is going to happen.
Amiji,
Hmm.
there's one question from my side. It says the self, having lost its real state, assumes the
Mhm.
position of. Why is it the self that has lost that state? You said in the beginning or earlier, we're getting conditioned the moment we are born. I don't understand if the self is so immaculate and divine. How can it lose this? Like what is the meaning of this having lost its real state and assuming the Vika state?
See, self can never be lost. I mean, you can never fall into limitations. That's the way to explain it. But for all practical purposes, we feel we have lost it, isn't it? See, you are that self, you are that truth, you are that divinity. Correct. But then what is your experience right now? My experience right now. So for all practical purposes, we have lost it, but you can never lose it. Self can never fall into limitations. So therefore, he says these three are assumed personalities. You get that word? We often use that word, assumed. Assumed meaning
Conditioned?
condition, not real. So the
Mhm.
self, true self, that's your nature, can never fall into limitations. It's not possible. But we feel we have fallen into limitations. So from absolute level, there is no conditioning. But from relative level, our standpoint, there is conditioning. We can't deny that. So from which level we are talking? That's the confusion that's the doubt we are having. So are you talking from the absolute level or are you talking from the relative level? From absolute level, I mean, what world? World does not exist. So what are we talking about? But from relative level, yes, definitely we can experience that we all are conditioned. But actually we are not, the self cannot be conditioned. So you're right. So therefore, coming back, the systematic study of this knowledge is absolute must. You don't have to worry about the result. See, it's like when you join the army, 2 or 3 years you have to go through training. Just follow whatever they tell you. And you'll come out as a perfect soldier. The Marine, the Navy SEALs is fascinating. I think 6 months, 7 months training they go through. So what they have to do? Just surrender to the system. That's it. But if you tamper with it, no, I think I should do this, I should do that. You'll never become a Marine, you know. So therefore, systematic study is absolute must. So you decide what do we mean by systematic study. If what course we are offering appeals to you, grab it. If it doesn't appeal to you, don't grab it. You're wasting your time. No Japanese book, no this book. I'm not saying it's wrong. Then you follow Japanese book. Then you don't follow Bhagavad Gita. So you decide what you want to follow. I'm referring to yesterday's lecture, if you get what I'm saying. It's okay. I mean, we don't get offended. We respect everybody's views and opinions. So I'm not criticizing anybody here. Don't misunderstand. But the moment you feel you know you're on a slippery ground. So the highest knowledge you're studying scriptures, nothing higher than this. Still, you want to go for something else. So therefore, it doesn't hit you and me. That's the point. Why that inquiry doesn't start. So are we okay? These are all simple concepts, but very profound.
Mitzi, question.
All clear?
Question.
Yes.
So the last line of the paragraph, last paragraph that we read, you are the immaculate self. Recognize your essential being. So we are saying that the self cannot be understood by the body, mind, or intellect. So this
Right.
recognition of self, what does it imply?
Recognize your essential being, attain self-realization, spiritual enlightenment. You are heir to it. See, recognize in the sense by association with this knowledge. See, the easier way to understand this is you understand the importance of this knowledge to begin with. There are people who cannot understand why Vedanta is important. I mean, just to have a peaceful life, productive life. But at some stage it hits you. It has happened to all of us. Correct. But then how many of us can claim that, yes, I have really understood the purpose of my life? Yes, the knowledge is required so that we can have a perfect life, good life, great life, hassle-free life. But that's not it. The real purpose is to find out who we are. So that understanding he's referring to. By recognizing, he is not saying you comprehend the self. You cannot intellectually. Have you really understood that you're that truth, you're that divinity? That's the point. Not intellectually recognize or comprehend. You okay?
So it is to understand the purpose is to get out of this state and reach that state. So that's what it is to recognize.
That urgency.
Yes.
I mean, has it really hit you?
Okay.
Are we good? Yeah. Next topic, please.
Eliminate desires, regain self. Human beings alone are designed to attain the state of self-realization by eradicating all their desires. The Supreme Self, the Godhead in you, is enveloped, obscured by innumerable desires. Spiritual disciplines have been prescribed from time immemorial to eliminate desires and reach the ultimate goal. A regular, concerted practice of these disciplines would gradually lead one to the knowledge of self. When a person gains the knowledge of self, he becomes liberated from all desires.
Please continue. Take your time. No rush.
Your life in the world as well. Your life in the world rises like a pyramid. In the lowest sector as a child, you're lost in the toy world. The desires of childhood pertain to playthings. The child develops attachment and desire for its petty possessions. However, as you grow into your teens, you move up to the next level of maturity with more knowledge and a better understanding of life as such. As a result, your attachment and desire for toys and trinkets are gone. But as a teenager, you're caught up with other emotions and passions of your mind. You entertain a quality of desires higher than those of toys. And when you gain further knowledge and maturity, the passionate, irresponsible desires of youth also vanish. Your intellect visualizes a more responsible way of living, conceives a home with a family. But then, your attachment and desire at this level are not any different from those of the child and the youth at their levels. You're still bound to the world of your own. At the highest echelon of your personality, you become spiritual. Your subtle intellect visualizes the magnificence of the transcendental experience vis-a-vis the limitations of the terrestrial. Thus, with the acquisition of spiritual knowledge, the mundane attachments, desires sink into insignificance. You move to the topmost sector of the pyramid of life. You are left with just one desire, to realize the Supreme Self. And that last desire drops with the knowledge of self.
Radha, can you just initiate discussion on this topic? There is somebody at the door, electrician is there. I just
Sure.
need few minutes.
Sure. So, so here is the talk about desires and the pyramid of the desires through which we rise. So, anybody would like to say what they understood about the pyramid of desires that is mentioned here?
So this pyramid of desires, so is this when it's said to take up higher values? Is this pretty much kind of the ranking of that to kind of organize in your mind to say, okay, is this a physical desire? Is this an emotional desire? Is this an intellectual desire? How can I make those types of desires more spiritual desires?
Yes. It probably helps us once, once the knowledge is given out like this, we are able to reflect on us because we are always told to eliminate desires, but how do we do them unless we understand where our desires are, which level they are? So once we have this pyramid, then we are able to reflect on ourselves and see whether we are at the physical level, emotional level, intellectual level, and spiritual level, and work upwards instead of just staying there, because we cannot get rid of our lower attachments. But the rise shows, like when he says, from the childhood to the emotional youth and then the adult. So how we rise is we pick up something higher. So that's probably a way of looking at this. But does anybody have any other input on this?
Yeah, I think I have something to add here. I feel like that because it's physical, emotional, and intellectual. Isn't the physical desire the most gross one? And then you have emotional is more subtle, intellectual is even more subtle. That's why it's a pyramid. And then child, youth, and adult, it says somewhere in the book, it's all the same. It's just in a different stage of life. So why it doesn't make a distinction here between those three areas. Rather, it makes a distinction between gross, subtle, and the least, more, the higher you rise, the more subtle it becomes, but it's still a desire until you self-realize.
Yeah. Yes, that's a good way. And also, I think we understand from this that um, the body, mind, and intellect are all lower compared to this. Yes, Amitji.
Yeah, sorry. So there was a power outage this morning, a major thunderstorm. So the electrical wire was loose, so they had come to fix it. So I just opened the door for them. Yeah, sorry about the interruption. Yeah. So the 3 or 4 main points in this topic. See, the whole exercise is about eliminating desires. We all understand that. And how you do that is through integrated spiritual practices. So next topic he's going to tell us. What is it all about? And if you do not do that, whole life you are playing with different set of desires. That is all. So he's giving example. As a child, we played with the toy world. All of us have gone through that stage, isn't it? Then you're caught up with the passions of the teenage or a youth, you know. Then you become a little bit sincere about life. I want to start a family. I want a career. No, I want to settle down. But still, you are playing with different set of desires throughout your life. So when are you going to grow out of these desires? See, as an adult, what has happened to us right now? None of us are playing with toys. That goes without saying, which we did 5 years back, 10 years back, 20 years back, whatever. So as an adult, where are we stuck? Just a child is stuck with the toy world, but then naturally you come out of that. Then the passions of youth. But right now, what is happening to us?
We are still bound with the world of what we think is valuable, world of ours at that stage, worldly things.
Mm-hmm. What has happened to all of us right now, as
We
far as
think-
desires are concerned?
We think we will get the happiness from this desire. So we jump from one desire to another to find that happiness or peacefulness, but we don't get it there. So we just roundabout with all that things.
No, you're right. It's an independent point. You're not wrong. But right now, what is happening to all of us? We all have come out of the toy world. We're not 10, 12, 13, 14. Then there's the passion of youth. See, when he says physical, emotional, intellectual, it has to be taken like child is totally at the level of the body, playing with the toy world. Then once you cross 13, 14, passions, then some kind of intellect kicks in. But still we are playing with what?
The same
We are
kind
stuck
of,
where?
it is nothing different than what the child had and what we had as a child. The same
Playing
kind
with different set of
toys.
desires,
Yeah.
with different toys, that is all.
Yeah.
So how do you come out of it is the question. See, it's very easy to say, all right, we all understand here. So what's the purpose of life? And how do you start that journey? And all of you have started that journey, incidentally. Let me remind you of that. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here.
Gaining
So-
knowledge to understand the value of
Mhm.
material, physical, emotional, intellectual,
Take
so we
a,
can rise above it.
Mhm.
Questioning.
take a pause.
Sorry, say that again.
Take up a higher cause.
Mhm.
Questioning. Keep questioning. Why?
See that values, and I use the right word. So once you understand the value of this knowledge, what happens? See, you get that lift, as it were. You get my point. And to get that initial lift is not easy. It's like plane taking off. The takeoff phase is the most challenging phase, right? But once it takes off, then there is no problem. But initially, it has to fight against gravity. So that's the problem with most people. That why don't they really start their pursuit? So that initial phase is difficult. But once you give that lift to your personality, once that awakening comes, once you understand the importance of this knowledge, rest is easy. But that initial phase is extremely difficult. And then obviously it goes without saying that you need knowledge and all that. So that we have said many times. So are we okay with this? See, the main point here would be to understand that you are stuck just like a child is stuck. We all are stuck. You could be playing with the family, another person could be playing with power, another person could be playing with whatever. So we're just replaced toys with real toys. That's all. We're not playing with teddy bears. We're not playing with doll's house. Of course, we're playing with a doll, but real doll or real whatever. So everybody is stuck. And only with this knowledge, you'll understand that you are stuck. Once you understand that, you'll start putting efforts, at least initially. And once you lift your personality, that initial lift you give, rest is easy. And then it's no big deal. Why most of you are consistent? If I were to ask you, why are you consistent? 90% of you, or maybe I don't know, the whole class, I can't see everybody, but most of you are consistent. Why are you consistent? You're not consistent before, maybe 1 year back, 2 years back. Yes or no?
Yes,
Then why are you consistent now?
because we are thinking that there is something about our inner thing needs that thing. The outside toys is not satisfying us. And there is a touch of that inner thing is coming through the lectures or understanding that there is something I want to go there.
Correct. Why are you consistent? Is being consistent difficult to you right now?
No, no, Swamiji.
It's not, but it was. At least for me, it was. I mean, 25, 30 years back. But why it is not?
Because now the mind likes to attend all the lecture series and we are practicing few things we experimented in our life and we are feeling happiness from it. And now we know we have to learn more so that we can put it into practical life and so that we can be happy.
So that you have got that initial lift. You get my point?
Yes.
Yeah, otherwise I can make a statement. Okay, you give that initial lift to your personality, but what does it mean? None of you are questioning. I am only posing a question. I am only answering. It has happened to all of you, all of us. So these are the main points. Any doubts? What's the time? I'm getting confused. This time difference. What's the
It's
time?
10:50.
10:50. Detroit time.
Okay, so we have how much time is left?
10 minutes.
10 minutes.
Okay. So if no questions, let's
So,
move on to the
Aminji,
next.
I have a
Yeah.
question. So, to get that initial lift, is it proportional to the strength of your desires? If you have a lesser desires, do you get the lift? Or if you have a strong desire for spiritual, some desire is there and then you get the lift.
See, again, you have to go back to the basics. To what extent your subtle intellect is available?
Yes.
See, if it is zero, then no lift at all. No, I'm magnifying. No animal can ever get a lift. Suddenly, the lion has become a spiritual lion. I'm giving a silly example. So animals cannot ever think beyond whatever they are experiencing in life. So we only have a subtle intellect. You know that. So how subtle intellect becomes available? So if you understand that, you answer your question. When subtle intellect becomes available?
When desires are reduced.
So to some extent, you need to offload your desires, right? If it is like, if you are thick in the world, it's not possible. So there has to be some availability of subtle intellect. So so we all have experienced that. However feeble it may be, it will slowly but surely take you right to the top of the pyramid. If you hold on to it. Are we okay? So the next topic, I think it's the last topic here. It talks about integrated spiritual practices. So Tejo, let's play paragraph 1 and paragraph 2.
The three yogas. There are three spiritual disciplines directed to the three equipments that a human possesses. Karma Yoga, path of action for the body. Bhakti Yoga, path of devotion for the mind. And Jnana Yoga, path of knowledge for the intellect. Karma Yoga, the path of action, stands on the principle of service and sacrifice. It's an art of living without ego and egocentric attachment to the mundane world. To act for a higher, nobler cause dedicated to the welfare of the community at large. A path that is paved with acts of sharing, giving. Victor Hugo, in his great novel Les Miserables, narrates how a convict had escaped from prison and sought shelter for the night. A priest offered him his home with food and a bed to sleep. The man accepted. And as he lay in bed, he noticed the maid placing the silver dinner plates in his room. In the middle of the night, the convict took them and ran away. The police caught him. The next morning, they brought him with the silver plates to the priest's home. The good man feigned a surprise and told the policeman that he had gifted the plates to his guest. The convict did not utter a word. The policeman profusely apologized and left. The priest then picked up 2 candlestick stands made of solid silver from his desk, brought them to the convict lying on the floor, and offered them to him with his blessed words. Remember, life is to give, not to take. The convict received the gift and departed a transformed man. Thereafter, he lived the life of a saint dedicated to service and sacrifice. Such is the grandeur of Karma Yoga. There lived a saint in India whose life was based on a simple maxim: he gave, he forgave.
See, desires are at 3 levels of our personality: action level, emotional level, intellectual level. So at each level, you need to purify your desires, and eventually you have to eliminate your desires. So path of action, karma means action, is meant for people who are active. All of us are active. First of all, you cannot remain without action. This is the first message you learn in Vedanta. Why you cannot remain without action? Because you have desires. If you remain without actions, desires will remain within and will be an extremely frustrated person. So therefore, you need a technique by which you can purify your desires at action level, and eventually you need to eliminate. And the easiest way to understand this concept, what is Karma Yoga, is your own profession. That's it. You could be a lawyer, you could be a doctor, you could be in politics, you could be in sports, whatever. So whatever action you are performing, Swadharmic action, your field of activity, you need to function in the spirit of service and sacrifice. It doesn't matter what you do. See, a lot of people, they misunderstand that unselfish action is outside your work. So therefore they take up, they work as a volunteer or something. There's nothing wrong with that. But that's not Karma Yoga all about. See, for example, I'm in this profession. I'm a Vedanta teacher, full-time Vedanta teacher. So Karma Yoga is I function in the spirit of service and sacrifice. The only purpose, only intention of doing what I'm doing is to give without expecting anything. You apply this in your own field. I mean, if you could be in law, you could be in business. So you just need to function in a spirit of service and sacrifice, meaning you feel that way. That doesn't mean you function foolishly. So when we say function unselfishly, function in the spirit of service and sacrifice, you feel that way. Are you with me? When I'm talking to you, I should feel that I am serving you. Zero expectations. Serving is one-way street. The moment I expect something is not service, then it is business. So you could be in job, you could be a student. I mean, why you want to get a degree? The selfish attitude could be, I want a job, I want this, I want that. There's nothing wrong with that. But let me serve the community with my talent. Obviously, using your intellect. It goes without saying. So that's the beauty of that example of Les Miserables, John Valjean. He gives him the message, the priest. And with that message, what does John Valjean do? You heard this example 100 times, but what does it mean? What did he do, John Valjean, those who know Les Miserables? Once the priest told him, life is to give, not to take. What did he do in life?
We just give whatever the other person, but just keep giving.
Mm-hmm.
He did Karma Yoga.
Yeah, but what is that? Throwing the question back at me.
Living or behaving in a way of service and sacrifice. So
Same, throwing question back at me. I mean,
Not
all the
as-
correct answers, but what did he do in life?
just giving, not accepting anything in return.
How does one live that kind of a life? Is it practical?
Selfless or unselfish in an unselfish way.
How?
He made
See,
it his mantra, like he made it his life to live up to that, the spirit of that quote, like life is to give. So he became that.
see, all these are correct answers, but what's the practical application? See, therefore, follow my question correctly. What did he do in life? Those who know Les Miserables. Once he got the message from the priest, what did he do? He was a pauper, an absolute pauper. What did he do in life?
He transferred himself to the higher values.
How? See, I am trying to
He gave back.
give the basic message. See, otherwise, all these are high sounding words. Yes, ma'am.
He gave back to the community.
How? But to give back to the community, you should have something. And what is it when we mean give back to the community? If somebody doesn't have anything to give back, is he not following Karma Yoga?
Whatever opportunity he had, all he wanted was to help in whichever, however way he could, in whichever situation. So he tried to serve the community by, starting that factory and giving employment to those people, and then adopted the child whose mother was dying and brought her up as his own. And he even helped the young revolutionaries. So wherever he was trying to help and make that place better and uplift in his own way.
The first part of your answer, that's it. You don't have to say anything else. See, therefore, 10 times I asked, what did he do? What did he do? How does Veera apply this knowledge in day-to-day life? He's in the profession. So John, he started a business. He did not take up sannyas. He was a pauper. So whatever you are doing, you need to function in the spirit of service and sacrifice. Meaning what? This is what I'm trying to explain. You could start business just to earn money. This is what most people are doing. You earn money, with that you indulge, maybe then you dabble with power. But the same business could be done with the attitude of, how can I help the community with this talent? That is all. That doesn't mean whatever money you earn, you give away in charity and become pauper. This is the misunderstanding. Therefore, I'm trying to probe. It's not that you don't do anything different. You just feel that way. You could be in politics. Why not? Politics is a great tool to reform the society, community, or you could use politics for personal gains. So what you do is you just change your attitude. Action remains same. You need to use your intellect and you need to do what you ought to do so that you are productive. If you are in business, how can you run a business in the loss? Whatever money you earn, you give away. This is what most people will understand. No, you just feel that way. Why do I need a degree? I mean, I got degree at some stage in my life, MBA, with 30 years back. Most of my colleagues wanted that degree so that they could get a job. Or you want a degree so that you can contribute to society with your talent. Only when you function with this attitude, coming back to the gist of Karma Yoga, your lower desires will be eliminated, not otherwise. Doesn't matter what you do. See, for example, somebody is in a profession. If you work just to earn money, you want name, you want fame, you want perks, you want this, you want that, those desires will never be satisfied. In fact, they will increase. But if you work for a lokasangra, if you are genuinely working for your profession, all your lower desires will eventually fall off. That is karma yoga. This is how it purifies. This is how it eliminates your desires, selfish desires, lower desires eventually. So that, I repeat, that attitude of service and sacrifice, giving, not taking, you feel that way. And you function in your own profession with this attitude. That is karma yoga. It will eventually wipe out all your desires. See, I'm glad we had this discussion. Otherwise, all these are high sounding words. You give, you sacrifice, you help others and all that. You may help others to help yourself. Many times it is like that. In India right now, what's the time? Oh, time is up. I'm sorry about that. I think we'll continue. I totally lost this time difference. So what's the time in US?
11:08.
Oh, so we overshot the time. All right. So let's conclude for today. But I would like you to think about this. What is karma yoga? Next time, I want somebody to make a presentation, quick presentation, 30 seconds. That's all. 35 seconds, I will say stop. So 30-second presentation on karma yoga. 2 presentations we want. From people who usually don't talk, who don't answer. They will be given the priority. If they're not available, then usual suspects. I'm using that word in a particular way. So any volunteers? 30-second presentation on the gist of karma yoga. How would you apply that spirit in your day-to-day life? No volunteers?
I can do it.
Who is that? Is that Tim?
Oh, this is Bhaskar.
Ah, Bhaskar. Yes,
Yeah.
sure, Bhaskar.
Yeah.
Okay, so Bhaskar will make 30-second presentation. Who else? One more person we need. Okay, so anybody from usual suspects?
I can do it, Amaji.
There you go. Perfect. All right. See you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you, Miji.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Amit.
Bye.
Bye.